Tyra, I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate everyone joining the call today. Thank you to the HomeWell Care Services team inviting FranFund to be a part of this conversation. And we all know, as you said, Mike, the funding part of your discovery process is essential to getting up and running. So I do have some information to share with you all today. And we are going to talk about, as Mike said, how to empower your discovery process through funding options. So we'll start with some introductions. I'll go through FranFund, who we are and what we do, and what it looks like to work with FranFund and the typical funding strategies that we talk about with franchisees and potential candidates and the steps to getting there. So first, starting with introductions, I'll start with Rachel and then we'll go to Craig and then I'll introduce myself a little bit more.
Sorry, I'm on mute and I'm talking. Hi, I'm Rachel. I just partner with Tyra on the franchisor relations side, and I'm just here to kind of hang out and listen with you guys today.
Hey everyone, I'm Craig Blakesley. I'm a funding consultant, so I will be talking with you about all the funding options that would be best for you, whether that's a SBA loan, an unsecured term loan, or a rollover for business startup. So anything that would be best for you, we would talk about that and find the best funding solution for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'm Tyra Haizlip. I'm a franchisor relations manager here at FranFund. And just to let everyone know, I've been with the company for about 4 years now, and most of my time was spent on the lending team. So I have that experience with supporting the candidates and serving them as a liaison between the franchisees and lenders when it comes to SBA loans. So working through the 3-year projections and the business plan and all of the required documents that are needed for an SBA loan. We're happy to support candidates every step of the way. So talking just a little bit more about FranFund and who we are a one-stop shop when it comes to primary funding options for franchisees. So we talk about SBA loans and rollover for business startups and alternative solutions. And as a company, we've been able to accomplish a lot of great success with helping franchisees get up and running and funded for their business. So we have been voted as #1 in the banking and financing category with Entrepreneur Magazine. We were also named as 2025 SBA Franchise Lender of the Year, and you should all know we are not a direct lender, so this is huge for us. But if we were, we would rank among the top 15 in the nation, and we do support veterans, so veterans receive special pricing. So whenever working with Craig, Craig is going to be the primary contact through your funding journey. So Craig will walk you through what would be the most appropriate fit for your funding options and being with you to support from beginning to end. So we typically start with the complimentary consultation process. Craig is going to talk about how to get to a point to where we can get to a pre-approval letter to determine that best strategy. And this all happens without a hard credit pull. We can go through those initial consultations to talk about the best funding strategy for you and what would be the best fit for your business and getting up and running. And our goal is to provide the education and solutions and providing that quick and accurate feedback so you know exactly what to move forward into your next steps in your funding journey. And so typically whenever we do offer a pre-approval letter, and I'm happy to say with our pre-approval letter, by the way, we have a 99% success rate of getting approved and funded. So going back to our conversation earlier about our success and how we've been able to help many franchisees and entrepreneurs, this is just going back to our process and how we work to get everyone pre-approved as quickly as possible. So you feel confident in moving forward. And this is very different from walking to a local bank on your own. That chance of approval usually drops to about 52%. So we really work to work hand in hand, being here to support with HomeWell Care Services and your funding journey and being with you through that process every step of the way. So just a quick talk about FranFund. Now I can jump into those primary funding options. So first I'll talk about the rollover for business startups, and then I'll jump into the SBA loans after I go through that ROBS combination. So rollover for business startup, or ROBS for short, has typically been the mainstay for entrepreneurs and franchisees getting into franchising. ROBS is essentially where if you have at least $50,000 in an eligible retirement account, you can use those funds for any eligible startup costs for your business as you get up and running. And this is a great opportunity because the major benefit of this ROB strategy is that you can take advantage of your funds that you've already saved up, tax and penalty free. So this allows you to avoid those early withdrawal penalties. And when we're talking about business funding using the ROB strategy, of course, there's no credit checks, no collateral requirements that you would typically see with the loan, and you can typically get funded within 3 to 4 weeks. Oftentimes, you may use this strategy to pay for the franchise fee, and you can use it for your startup costs to get up and running, your additional expenses and working capital even after your business is opened. Any legitimate startup costs, this ROB strategy is a key point for a lot of franchisees. And of course, if you're taking advantage of this strategy, there's no interest to pay back on the loan, no loan payments. Therefore, your cash flow in your business will be able to increase after your business is up and running, taking advantage of this strategy. And oftentimes, I will say that many franchisees can use this strategy in combination with an SBA loan. So if you want to take advantage of the ROB strategy to get things going and get into your process with HomeWell Care Services, you can get your franchise fee paid within 3 to 4 weeks. And then we can continue on with the SBA loan process to pay for the remainder of your project. And another thing to highlight on the ROB strategy, this is very different from taking a straight distribution or a withdrawal from your retirement account. Very different from a 401k loan. So typically, a traditional withdrawal from your retirement account, you could get hit with up to about 40% in taxes and penalties. Now, with the ROB strategy, you have full access to what you've already saved up and invested in yourself. So if you have that available, you're not taking any losses on what you've already saved up for. So the ROB strategy has been a huge success for franchisees who are getting the business up and running. Now, we have an in-house ROBS team. So our ROBS team is going to walk you through every step of the way. We're going to start by forming a C Corp, which a C Corp, by the way, is required by the IRS. And our ROBS team is going to walk you through setting up the bylaws, the articles of incorporation. And once we have those corporate documents set up, our ROBS team will then help you facilitate opening a new ROBS retirement plan that will essentially own the C Corp. So we're going to help you facilitate those funds transfers from the existing retirement account into your new ROBS retirement account. And from that C Corp, that will get your corporate account funded within 3 to 4 weeks so you can start moving forward with your business investment. Now, with the ROBS, another great feature that we've been successful with is our safety net feature. And I love to talk about this because this is a great opportunity for franchisees in 2 different scenarios. First, maybe you're not sure about how the process might work. You want to just get a peek into what that situation might look like. We can start rolling some funds over into a simple IRA account. And this is at no cost, no commitment. And then when you're ready to move forward, we can get you moving forward as quickly as possible so you can get the funding that you need to get up and running within 3 to 4 weeks. A second scenario where this might be helpful is if you have funds spread out across multiple accounts. We can get ahead of any potential delays and variables if we start consolidating your funds into one simple IRA account. And then once we've got all of that red tape out of the way, we can get things moving forward as quickly as possible so you can get your ROBS funded in that short timeline. With our in-house ROBS team, we also have an in-house third-party administration team. And because the ROB strategy is heavily regulated by the IRS and the Department of Labor, our in-house third-party administration team, or TPA for short, is vital for this strategy. So we want to make sure that we're in full compliance with the IRS and the Department of Labor. And also, by the way, FranFund has never been hit with any IRS penalties when it comes to the ROB strategy. So I'm fully confident in our in-house ROBS and TPA team that you're going to get the education that you need to get your ROB strategy funded, and you'll get all of your questions answered at every step of the process. Now that I've talked about ROB strategy, if any questions come up, please feel free to pop those in. I'll be happy to answer those if you have any questions. But for now, I'll go ahead and jump into SBA loans. Now, our second primary funding option that we work with many franchisees, again, just with the volume alone and knowing the requirements for an SBA loan, we have that 99% success rate. So for example, when you come across and you're working with Craig, and Craig is going through your funding options and determining the best strategy, if everything works out for an SBA loan and you know that you're ready to move forward, our team is going to work with you to make sure that you're pre-qualified before we start working on any of the more detailed documents. So our goal is, through this complimentary consultation process, is to determine, are we able to move forward? Do we have at least a 680 credit score? Are there any patterns in bankruptcy, short sales, foreclosures that we need to talk about up front? We'll also talk about if you have any misdemeanors that happened 20 to 30 years ago. We're going to go into full detail to make sure that we are meeting those checkpoints and knowing exactly what lenders will ask for. And all of this, by the way, is from a soft credit pool. So we'll go into this complimentary and making sure that you're qualified to move forward with this funding strategy. With equity injection, we'll talk about what are the needs based on what your need is in your market. Typically, that might be 20 to 30% of the total project cost. We'll talk about post-loan close liquidity. Now, post-loan close liquidity, that's just cash reserves. It's not an out-of-pocket expense, but that will help us tell lenders that you can still maintain your present lifestyle, your personal expenses, your personal debt while the business is ramping up. And lastly, we'll talk about collateral. As long as the loan is below $350,000, banks have the option to waive real estate as collateral. And if your loan happens to be above 350, then we know that banks are required to hold real estate as collateral if it is available. Now, keep in mind that we consider these as buckets. So say, for example, if we have strengths and great additions in one area, but we may be weaker in some buckets, we'll talk through it. We know how to negotiate and get it through if it appears to be a weakness in the file. So we are always happy to support and talk through those solutions. Maybe we need to pay off some debt, or maybe we need to boost liquidity in some areas. And this will be a great opportunity. If you have those retirement funds, you can use your ROBs to boost your liquidity to meet the equity injection, which, by the way, your paid franchise fee counts towards that equity injection requirement. So that's already taken a big chunk out of that requirement up front. Now, moving forward into our SBA loan program, our team is going to work with you hand in hand. So we're going to perform that first level of underwriting well before we even get in front of lenders. So that's going to ensure that we can maintain that 99% success rate. So we're going to work through the 3-year projections to make sure they're not too aggressive or not too conservative. We're going to ensure that all of your documents are in sync. So that way, by the time we do present to lenders, lenders will essentially bid on a loan request, and we can aim for multiple options, and we can present those bank options to you from our lender network. And at that point, you'll be able to choose which bank you would like to move forward with. And their goal is to support. So we're going to provide detailed guidance and feedback from a lender perspective. We're going to ensure that all of your documents are ready to go and accurate and complete, and will serve as a support between you and the bank when you start moving forward with the lender. Now, our timeline, we do try to ensure that we are going to meet your deadlines. So we're going to initially work on your documents. And once we have a completed loan package, we're going to submit your loan package out to multiple lenders and work on those bank options for you. And when you're ready to move forward with the bank, we'll be there to support you through underwriting, and we'll certainly be there to support you all the way up until your loan has been closed and funded. Now, that is all for the SBA loan. Now, if for any reason, if an SBA loan or ROBS is not a good fit, when you're working with Craig, Craig will talk about alternative solutions. So he'll talk about unsecured term loans or securities-backed funding or HELOCs even. Whatever the case is, we are here to educate and support and provide the best solution that's going to work out for your need and your upcoming business. Mike, do we have a question?
Yeah, one question came in. We can get toward it. They're talking about, is there a fee to work with you guys? Can you talk about how that works within your guys's, within that world?
Yes, absolutely. So our goal is to provide the education and determine the solution first before we collect any fees. So for example, if you're going through the safety net feature or if you're pursuing the ROBS retirement plan, we're going to determine, is it going to be a reliable funding option for you? So with the ROBS plan, after we determine that you do qualify, that fee will be $4,795. And we are part of the vet friend community, so we take care of our veterans. Veterans receive a discount of $800. So that fee would then drop from $47.95 to $39.95. And with our in-house third-party administration team that's going to provide that ongoing support, that's a monthly maintenance fee of $155. So those are the ROBS fees. With the SBA loan fee, after we have determined that you've met those 4 buckets, the credit score, equity injection, you qualify for the SBA loan, after we have issued the free FranFund pre-approval letter, after you decide to move forward with that program, that's a one-time setup fee of $2,500. And after you're ready to move forward, we'll have access to a secure document portal. We'll provide all of the templates, and then you'll continue to work with our lending team that's going to support you through all of the loan package documents. So you're not going out alone. We're going to be there with you to help complete those documents and make sure they're ready to go for lender review.
Can I just say, guys, when you think about this process, the goal of FranFund, as she said, they're not a direct lender, so the money's not coming directly from them, but their goal is to work with a lot of banks. They work with a lot of different lenders out there to make sure they find you the best fit. And so when you're talking about if there's a fee associated with them, really what that fee is going towards is helping you be prepared to submit to different banks in order to guarantee, or as much guarantee as possible, that approval. And I think that's where FranFund and companies like FranFund come in and are such a key and vital piece of funding strategy. Is they're going to help navigate that. If you've ever tried to submit an SBA loan by yourself, good luck. It is a lot of paperwork. And if you've never done it before, it can be a very confusing process. And if you go to a Chase or a bigger bank, they're going to throw a bunch of documents at you that you have no clue what they mean. So using a company like FranFund is going to give you a leg up. And although there might be a small fee there, it is a well worth fee in order to make sure it's done right, and done right the first time. So sorry to get on my soapbox here, but we know how important this process is. And it's much easier to work with a great partner that does it all day, every day.
Very well said. Thank you, Mike. And in addition to the fee on the SBA loan side, earlier I talked about the equity injection that's required. The FranFund fee is typically counted towards that equity injection. So that's usually offset. And the equity injection is everything that you would pay out of pocket, typically anyway, your business insurances, licensing and permits, all of that counts towards equity injections. So your fee to FranFund for that $2,500 setup fee typically counts. Now, there may be some lenders, if they have their own internal parameters, if they cannot count it towards equity injection, they'll turn around and add it to working capital. So that's another opportunity where that fee is automatically offset. So as Mike said, very well worth it. If you go into a local bank on their own, if you have a great relationship with the local bank you've been banking with for many years, they may not have the same level of knowledge when it comes to franchising, and they may not be able to have that same time to handhold you through that process. So many times our local banks, we have great relationships with them, but they're just not familiar with the franchising model and how everything looks when it comes to SBA loan funding. So we already have a great network of lenders who have been very well vetted. They are SBA preferred lenders, not FranFund preferred, but SBA preferred. And what that means is that bank has the approval by the SBA to approve and underwrite and close loans in-house. So we already know which banks to work with, which banks love HomeWell Care Services, and which banks who are open to new entrepreneurs and franchisees, or even growing franchisees who are working to expand and increase their portfolio. So as Mike said, we are very well versed in this SBA loan program, and I can tell you the feedback that you would receive from our lending team. You have full access if you need calls, if you have questions, whatever the case may be. We are that's how we have designed our model to support you every step of the way.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome information. It's again, the most important part of getting a business off the ground is having the money to get the business off the ground. So, we always encourage, and I'll ask the question, and Tyra and Craig, when is the appropriate time to engage in those kind of conversations with a lending partner, or at least having your ducks in a row in order to move forward?
Mm-hmm. So they'll start having those early conversations with Craig. So Craig, I'll allow you to jump in and add to that conversation.
Absolutely. So really, whenever you have already talked with HomeWell and you've wanted to move forward, it's really finding the right funding solution that would work for you. And that can be in the very beginning of the process of really seeing what would work best for you and how to obtain that. So with our SBA process, it would be going through that pre-approval process and getting that pre-approval letter. It's not a time constraint once you do have that FranFund pre-approval letter, because if nothing changes in your financial picture, we will have that pre-approval letter ready for you along the lines whenever you are ready to move forward. So it's not a time constraint in any way, shape, or form. So in the beginning, it's nice to talk funding and make sure that these numbers work for you and that's a viable option for you.
Yeah. And I'll add, so early on, we've been most successful when we're talking with you during your initial conversations with HomeWell Care Services, during your unit economics, bringing that conversation in early on so you can know exactly how you're going to be able to get funded. As early as possible is when we've been most successful, when candidates have started to work with Craig. So early the better, and that way, if we are weaker in some of these areas, or if you're just not sure if your retirement funds are going to be eligible, the sooner we can start having these conversations so we can get ahead of any potential barriers, the better. We don't have any cutoffs or deadlines, but I can tell you, when we start bringing in these funding conversations early on, we like to have detailed consultations so we can cover all of the details, cover all of the education. We can be here to support you if you have any additional needs or requests. So earlier the better. We always like to advocate sooner the better, and then we can make sure that we're meeting those deadlines and getting you funded and ready to go.
Yeah, and I think, again, it's like buying a house. You don't go look at a house knowing you can or cannot afford it. This is the same concept. So we always encourage all of our candidates early in the process, if they haven't started that process of really understanding the funding strategy that's going to work best for them, go talk to FranFund, go talk to them, get an idea. It doesn't cost you anything but your time, but at least you're going to have an opportunity to kind of have that strategy down, because we're going to require that. If things work out and things are moving forward for both of us, towards the end of the process, we're going to ask for that pre-approval letter. We're going to want to see that process is done. And that's more to protect you as a candidate versus us. We really want to make sure that this is a win-win, and that you're ready to move forward when you're ready to move forward. All right.
Great points.
Question came in. If two or more people are starting their business together, how do you suggest financing is handled? Great question, Michelle.
So two or more people, partners, not spouses, is
let's answer both of ways.
Okay.
It doesn't say, so let's.
Okay, great. So let's say if it's in the same household, they're spouses. So we'll collect documents on both individuals. Some of the documents may be joint, like the personal financial statement required by the SBA, of course, joint tax returns, whatever the case may be. If a spouse is working but one is not, we'll just collect W-2s and pay stubs for the spouse that is working. Kind of similar if it's two partners in two different households, then we would review and have consultations with them and essentially offer pre-approval letter on both of their financials. We need to review credit scores for both. We need to ensure if you own existing businesses or whatever the case may be, we need to get into all of those details. So essentially, both for partners in separate household and spouses in the same household, we're going to review all of the documents underneath. Of course, partners and spouses will both be guarantors on the loan as well.
Yeah, great question on that one. We get a lot of, whether it be husband and wives or partners looking at our business model, and it's always a great question to have answered. And again, the nice thing is just talk to them early. Talk early. I can't stress that enough, everybody. So those are some great questions. Doesn't look like any other questions came in, guys. And I, again, this is such an important topic. I think we could sit here all day and talk about different ways to ensure the success when you open a business. And again, this is such an important topic. I can't thank you guys enough, FranFund, Tyra, Craig, Rachel. Thank you so much for joining us today. If you're out there, if you guys still have questions for them, get a hold of us. We'll be happy to put you in touch with them. We work closely with them on a lot of different deals. So please reach out, let us know. We're here to help support you in your endeavor, and especially when it comes to the funding side to ensure a successful launch of your business here with us at HomeWell. So thanks again for joining, everybody. FranFund, thank you guys. Great to see you as always. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to seeing you guys on our next call. Have a great Friday, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Have a great weekend, everyone. Talk to you soon.
All right.